Hey, hey. I am an hour late because children. But come on in. It is Saturday, which means it is Dear Big Sis, episode 4. I'm so excited to be back with you tonight. Hopefully, this is an okay time. If you see a little shine right in this area, it's because, somebody decided they wanted to make their debut on Dear Big Sis today. And I just had to cover her up to just let her know that she wasn't running this show. Okay. I named her. I forgot what I named her, but she's disrespectful. She just protruded out of my face one day and decided that yesterday actually, and decided that she just wanted to stay there and get bigger and more red. So if you see a little glisten here, that's her makeup for today. Okay, so she has some makeup on today. We're covering her up, giving her the shine that she wants, but she gonna be gone in a week. Okay. So shout out to my TikTok little sisters. Hey, I see you all coming on. Shout out to my YouTube little sisters if you're tuning in. My TikTok sisters, if you ever want to rewatch this, is always available on YouTube. So you can always check that out. All right. But thank you so much for joining me. I had a pretty cool day today. I actually had an interview with a young lady named Ariana Fox. She is a Fox author over on Instagram. And she has written books. She's done voiceover. She's done TV. I think she's done movies. I'm not sure, but I did an interview with her today. So that was super exciting. I was really excited to do that with her. If you want to catch that interview, you can head on over to IG and I will have the video posted to my page at some point, but it's definitely on her page, A Fox Author over on Instagram. So I was so excited to do that. She's I think she's 12 years old and she's just doing some really great things. So it's always good to see. I told her she's an honorary Lil Sis. So if you want to add her on Instagram and be like, hey, Lil Sis, or hey, sister, she'll know what you're talking about. Okay. All right. So we are going to go ahead and get started with our Hey, Dear Big Sis. I'm so excited to be here with you all tonight. Okay. All right, so let's get started. So we have 2 letters today, 2 different subjects that I will be covering. I'm going to start with this one because this one isn't going to require me to y'all know sometimes I'll be going off on tangents. I'll be talking. Okay, so this one is not as much of a talking, but we still going to talk and talk. Okay. You see behind me, I added my books here. So I have my friendship book. Talks about how to be a good friend, setting boundaries, how to leave a toxic friend. That book is available, link in my bio. And then, of course, The Power of Standing Out devotional. All right. So check those out. Link is in my bio. Let's get started. All right. So this letter comes from Paige. So Paige, if you're out there, thank you so much for writing into Dear Big Sis. So Paige says, I'm quite worried about periods, and just 2 simple questions I have are, how would I shower if I'm on my period? And 2, if my breast started growing in about June last year, does that mean I'm going to start it soon or not? Thank you for reading this if you do. So you're welcome. Thank you so much for writing in, Paige, whether you are on YouTube or you are on TikTok or Instagram. Thank you so much for writing in. All right. So if you are grossed out by the talk of periods, first of all, I don't know why, because periods are normal. But if you are, you can log off and then come back on after we are finished with the discussion on periods. Okay. So how do you shower if you're on your period? So this is going to be a little TMI. I'm not going to share everything. I'm not going to get into full blown detail, but I will share some tips on how I shower when it comes to my period. So for me, I don't like to feel any type of moisture in that area, in my private area. I don't know if I could say all the words on here. I don't know if that's allowed on TikTok. I don't know if somebody will report me. So I'm not going to say all the words, but you know what I'm talking about. So for me, when I take a shower, take a shower like I normally would. For me, I use two different cloths for my body and then for my private area. So I don't use the same cloth. So I'm not going to wash my private area and wash my face at the same time. Just not going to do it. So on periods, it's the exact same way. Okay. So sometimes I just like to, I shower the exact same way. I don't really do anything special. I use the washcloth multiple times down there to at least get it to where it's not as much of a flow that's happening down there. Once I've rinsed off the area there, I make sure that I get any hair that's in the area, because you don't want that to hold onto a smell. You don't want, any type of dry blood to be caught up in the hair, in your pubic hair that's down there. So you want to be very careful to make sure that you're washing all of those areas, in the little crevices, in between. You know what I mean? And just using just water. I don't use soap on my private area. It's a self-cleaning. Your private area is a self-cleaning, self-cleaning organ. So it doesn't need soap to clean down there. Okay. I know when I've used soap in the past, I ended up getting a yeast infection. I don't know if other people are as sensitive as I am. I know they have different soaps that are specific for down there, but I don't use it. I use straight water, and not just a little bit. Like, I allow the water to run down there. I wet my washcloth. I let that go down there as well. So, but yeah, I just use water down there in that area, nothing else. Okay. Now the trick for me when I get out of the shower, I do use soap for my hair that's down there. Okay. Just to freshen that up a little bit so that it's not holding on to a smell. The hair down there holds a smell. So sometimes when you're in the shower, don't just wash, just your private area, but also wash the hair that's in your other area as well, because you want to just make sure that it's not holding the smell. I trim mine from time to time so that if it has held a smell, I could trim it, things like that. I'm trying to be like as discreet as possible because I don't want to violate anything on TikTok or on YouTube, but y'all get what I'm saying. Y'all with me. Y'all get what I'm saying. Now for me, I do have a tip or a few tips for when you're getting out of the shower. For me, that's the trouble, because I don't put my towel there, because I know that my blood will end up on the towel, and I'm trying to dry my body off. So I'm not trying to, disperse it anywhere all over my body. So one thing that I do is I try to dry off my top half and at least my legs as well. But then I'll go to the bathroom. I'll go and sit on the toilet. And then I'll actually use toilet paper to dry myself off down in that area to make sure that I'm really dry. Now, when I go into the bathroom, when I get on the toilet, I have my underwear and my pad ready. Okay. So you don't want to be walking across, because y'all know, as soon as you stand up, it's like an overflow, right? Y'all feel what I'm saying? So when I stand up, I already know, it's going to be time to go, time to flow. Gravity is pulling it all out. So I sit on the toilet as soon as I get out of the shower. And when I sit on the toilet, when I get out of the shower, I use toilet paper to dry myself off down in that area. I get myself very, very, very dry. And then I put on my underwear and I put my pad within my underwear, and then I get up and go. So I do not dry myself off with my towel when I'm on my period. So that's kind of a tip for how you can get out of the shower. You can do it your way. Some people might, dry off in the shower, or they might just put their pad on while they're wet. I don't like to be wet down there at all, period. I like it to be super dry. So I know, when I'm flowing, I know when I'm flowing versus, it just being some type of moisture down there. I don't like it down there. Okay. But that's my personal preference. All right. So second question, talking about your breasts are starting to grow. So you're entering into puberty. If it's starting to grow, I'm not an expert on it, but I do know as your body is going through changes, I don't believe that there's a specific order that your body changes in. So some things, some people may grow to be more fuller, earlier, and then the period comes later, or the period comes first and then they grow to be a little bit more fuller. So it just depends on your body type. I always say, ask your mom, ask your grandma what they experience, because sometimes it's genetics depending on how your period is going to flow and how everything is going to go with you and how your body is going to be shaped. So I would always ask them how it happened for them. And so when you ask them and you ask them how it happened for them, that way you can kind of be on the lookout. Now, what I can say is this: since you started, shaping up and things like that, and your breasts are starting to come in, I would say just get prepared. Never be without a period, or if you choose to use tampons, be without tampons. Just stock up as best as you can now. Okay, so have them in your bathroom, have them in your purse, because it can happen at school. For me, when I got my first period, I was at a birthday party with one of my guy friends and a guy that I thought was cute at the time. And I ended up starting my period while we were sitting in the back of the car. Did not know what was going on. So now that you started to hit puberty, and puberty has started to become something like you can look in the mirror and see that your body is changing, I would just get prepared now. I'm not saying carry the whole pack of pads with you. What I'm saying is have one or two or a tampon in your purse. So just in case you start somewhere that's not home, just in case you start somewhere that doesn't have products available to you, you at least have it in your purse. You at least have it on you. So if it happens, just in case, you already have what you need, in your purse and on you. So you're not having to walk around with toilet paper all day, because that's not fun. Okay, I literally just did that. I texted my husband. I said, I am too grown. I am too grown to not have pads on me. Too grown. So I have to make sure that I at least have them in my purse somewhere. All right. So that is my my answer for Paige. Now, one thing I do want to say is periods are normal, y'all. Periods are normal. Please don't feel disgusting. Please don't feel dirty. Don't feel like you are just the most disgusting creature on the planet. No, you talk to your friend next to you, they've probably already gotten their period or they're close. You talk to your mom knows about periods. Okay. So everybody knows about periods. Periods exist. Okay. There's no need to be scared. Okay. It is literally a natural occurrence that happens, unless, there are some challenges that you're having in that area, that may have come genetically. But for the most part, from what I'm familiar, let me speak with my experience. For my experience, periods are normal. Do not be afraid to have a period. A period does not make you disgusting. A period does not mean that you're a terrible person. A period does not mean that you did anything wrong at all, period. A period is normal. Okay. Those feelings of embarrassment, they come. All right. Because it's like, oh my gosh, I'm bleeding, but if somebody had a bloody nose, they'd be bleeding. You know what I'm saying? So it's no reason to be embarrassed. Now, if you have a leak and you bleed on yourself, that could be embarrassing. Yes. But we recover and we move on. Why? Because it happens. Right? It happens. Okay. It's happened to me. It's happened to friends I know. I had a friend that was in an all white outfit and started her period. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. Okay. So I want you to know that periods are normal. You feel like crying. Could you explain why we grow hair down there? So it's just a part of puberty. That's just something that the body does. When it was created, that's what happens. The thing is with the hair down there, though, it is like a protective barrier for different bacteria that your private area may be exposed to. So it's like a protective layer. It's really the same way like when you grow hair in your nose, right? We know we have hair in our nose. We don't really pay attention to it, but the hair in our nose catches some of that bacteria. It catches some of those germs. So that way we don't have to breathe it all the way in and we get sick. So it's the same way with our hair that's down there. It's like a protective barrier. Okay. So, I know people get bikini waxes and things like that, and that's what they choose to do. I probably won't be doing that one because I don't want nobody waxing down there, but that's a conversation for another day. But however, right. Like eyelashes. Exactly. Eyelashes protect your eyes. When you're blinking and things like that, it's keeping some of the things that are, maybe flying near your eyes, keeping it out of your eyes. So it's protective. So it's necessary. right? We have it there as a protective barrier so that it protects, different germs or bacteria from getting into our private areas, because we don't want that, because then you have yeast infections and different things like that. So, and that's a conversation for another day. If you have questions, you can inbox me, DM me, whatever, but it's protective. It's not disgusting. Okay. I don't even know. Like, I know people have made jokes about it over time, and people have said so many things about it and call women hairy and said it's disgusting. It's not disgusting. It is real. It is real. It happens. And as much as people do not talk about it, everybody is going through it. That's the thing. You're not hearing your favorite celebrities, you're not hearing your favorite influencers talk about periods, but they have one. They have periods. They go through periods. They have mood swings. They may get sad. They may be happy. They may crave chocolate. You know what I'm saying? They bleed. They use pads. They use tampons. They don't talk about it, but it's happening. It is normal. But just because they are not talking about it does not mean that it's not happening, and does not mean that it's not normal. It is normal. Okay? Don't be afraid to tell your parents. They already know it's coming. When the doctor said it's a girl, they already knew it was coming. Okay. So they have, sometimes they prepare for it, sometimes they have not emotionally, because it does mean that you're growing up. So because it means you're growing up, maybe a little bit more emotional, but ask the questions. If something is going on, you feel like something is not right, speak up. Don't let some of those things sit for a long time, because they could be getting worse and you don't know, and you're afraid to talk to somebody. It is normal and it's okay. Periods are normal and they're okay. There is nothing dirty. There is nothing terrible about you. Okay? It is normal. All right? And we can have a whole nother conversation on periods another day. I need to go through and read the TikTok guidelines to make sure I don't get blocked. All right, so let's get to the second question, the second letter. So this is from Angie. So, hey, Angie, thank you so much for writing into Dear Big Sis. Angie says, my mother has been giving me a hard time. She always gets mad at me, but I understand because she has anger issues. But I also try to help, but she gets mad at me again because I don't know how to do things. Please help me. All right, so we talk about mother issues almost every episode. I feel like we talked about parents. Mother issues is something that I definitely know about. Not saying me and my mother are like terrible, like we never talk to each other. It's not that, but there have been bumps in the road in our relationship over time. It's not easy because your parents are that first example of love. They're that first love that you are supposed to get. And what we don't realize, and what I had to realize as I got older and as I became a mom, what I had to realize is sometimes what we expected from our parents, based on what we saw on TV, based on what our friends got, some of the things that we are expecting, our parents don't have the capacity to give us. And so we feel like they're terrible parents, when in reality, they're not terrible. They just don't know how to do it. They don't know how to love you the way you want to be loved. They don't know how to care for you the way you want to be cared for. And so, one thing that I always say is important. Y'all hear me say this all the time, and I'm going to say it again. Writing a letter and expressing how you feel is important. Okay. The reason why it's important is because you don't want to just hold on to it. Because when you hold on to anger and you hold on to frustration with your parents, it ends up building into some type, I don't want to say hate, but close, where in your eyes, they can do nothing right. In your eyes, they'll always be a terrible parent. And you'll cancel out the great things they did, all because of this one thing that they did, or how they responded to something you said, or how they treated you in a certain area. So in your mind, you'll always say, my parent is terrible. When in reality, they're not terrible. They just don't know what to do. When you were born and they had to take you home, nobody gave them a booklet that said, here is how to care for, and had your name on it. When I went home with my twin girls, I was terrified. Do you hear me? Terrified. When they said, okay, time to check out, and I got dressed and they got in their car seats and I started making my way down that hall, that heart started pounding, because as I got in the car, I said, oh God, I got to take care of 2 kids. I don't know how to do this. Nobody taught me how to do this. Nobody showed me how to do this. I'm going off examples, what I think I saw. I'm Googling. I'm reading books. I'm trying to figure it out. You know, when you read the books and you feel all confident, but then when the child is in front of you and the hospital says, bye, have fun. I hope you realize what you got yourself into. You get in the car, you close the door, and you're on the way home, and you're in immediate shock and terror because you literally have to raise a child and nobody has told you what this child needs. Because every baby is different. Every child is different. Every little girl is different. Every teenage girl is different. Every college age girl is different. And so it's literally a guessing game and trying to figure out through prayer or through calling somebody or through Googling how to take care of you. And many times what some of you don't realize, which is something I had to really think about, if you think about the relationship between your mom and your grandmother or your grandfather, that will tell you a lot about what your mom knows about being a mother. That will tell you a lot about what her experience was as a daughter. And sometimes what I had to realize, because my mom's relationship with her mother at the time was not good. Like when my grandmother passed away, this about to sound so terrible, but it's my truth. When my grandmother passed away, my nana, I was happy because towards the end of her life, she treated my mom like trash. She talked down to her. She wasn't there for her. She was rude to her. It was so awful. But as I grew up, I realized the things that I wanted from my mom, she definitely did not get from my nana. So she was literally guessing at how to be a good mother because no one has shown her. Sometimes with your parents, no one has shown them how to be a good parent. No one has shown them. So they're watching TV shows. They're asking their friends. They're trying to figure out, how do I raise this child? And when you are having, you're having some of your own personal issues, not only does it terrify the parent because they don't know what to do, but then they also feel bad because they don't know what to do. So one thing I would say is, one, give your mom grace, Angie. Excuse me. Give mom grace. Okay? Because I'm going to ask you this question. I don't know if you're on here, but does your grandmother have an anger problem? If you ask your mom about her childhood today, would she say, my childhood was not good? My mother was always angry with me. Or would she say, my mother never talked to me? Or would she say, my mother was just always so hard on me and was always telling me all the things I was doing wrong? What would she say? I challenge some of you. Ask your mom. Ask your dad. What was your childhood like? What was it like growing up with grandma and grandpa? If it's not positive, I'm telling you, it will help you to be able to give your parents a little more grace when it comes to raising you. Now, I'm not saying that's an excuse for them to not try their best at trying to understand you. But what I'm saying is, for you, it's a moment for you to be able to give a little bit more grace. But not only that, be able to communicate, have the strength and have the strength to be able to communicate what you need. Communicate what you need. Hey, mom, I'm going through this. Is it possible for us to talk about this tomorrow? Or, mom, I'm about to work on this project. I would really like your help on it. You may not know much about it, but I would like for us to work together. Because maybe when she was in her house, nobody worked with her on homework. So she doesn't know how to work with you on your homework. You have to realize sometimes we have to voice what we need to our parents for them to understand what we need from them. Because it's a guessing game. They can't read your mind, right? Second thing I would say is this. Sometimes parents are going through it. They're trying to keep you alive. They're trying to make sure you don't get COVID. They're trying to make sure they don't have COVID. They're trying to make sure they can keep their job. They're trying to keep the lights on, keep the house paid for. They're trying to make sure you're fed, make sure you're passing all your classes, trying to help you with homework and math that they don't understand, Maybe some of them didn't graduate from college. Maybe some of them didn't graduate from high school. So they are every day through their mind, they're trying to work out life. So when they're upset, when they're kind of going off, as you're giving them grace, like I was saying, also go and find your place of peace. I saw this amazing video today that called it like a coping box, I think is what she called it. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's on my Instagram stories if you want to check it out. It's called like a coping box. So within this box, she had put a lot of her favorite things. She put a list of her favorite podcasts. She put a journal for her to be able to write, her favorite pen. She put in there a candle that she loves to smell. And I would encourage you to do the same. One thing I always say is find your place of peace in your house. Because if you know that your mom has anger issues, and if any of your parents have anger issues, or you know they're going to fuss, or you know they have an attitude. My mom was similar in some way. She didn't have anger issues, but there was definitely some emotional things that were going on. I had to find a place of peace in my home, which meant that I would go into my room and I would play a song on my CD player, or I would watch my favorite TV show, or I would go eat my favorite snack, or I would go outside and play with a friend. I would try to do something, anything to try to take my mind off of it, one, but also calm me down and help me to think logically. Because when I tell you to write a letter to your parents and I say, give them the letter when you're leaving the house, when they're leaving the house, or when you're starting school, that way they have time to process what you're saying, the information you're giving them, and then come up with a better way to respond. You do the same thing when you're trying to cope with what's going on in the home. You're trying to come up with a better way to respond. Because sometimes if the parent snaps and you're at the end of your rope because you're stressed out and you haven't had anybody to talk to, you snap, and then you're in trouble. Then you're being put on punishment. Now you feel like your life is over. Your phone is being taken away. You're being put on punishment. You can't go hang out with your friends. Now you're really feeling terrible. Instead of, let me figure out a better way to cope too. Let me figure out a way to handle this a lot better. So if my mom starts going off on me and being upset with me, I'm going to say, okay, mom. And I'm going to turn around and I'm going to go in my room. I'm going to take out my headphones. I'm going to put them on, play my favorite song really loud. I might take out my favorite book. I might listen to a favorite podcast. I might turn on my favorite television show and grab my favorite snack out the box. And I'm calming myself down too. Because this is the thing. You have feelings too. You have emotions too. You have things that you're going through as well. And sometimes our parents forget. They think that everything is fine with us because we have a roof over our head, clothes on our back, shoes on our feet, food in the refrigerator, food on the table, and we in school. They think that we're supposed to be perfectly fine. And that's not always the case. So while they are trying to figure out a way to cope and learn how to take care of you to the best of their ability, you also have to learn, how can I self-regulate? How can I control my responses? Because it's a thing. This is a great habit to have as you become an adult, as you go to college. Because in college, if somebody snap on you and you snap back and then y'all end up fighting, then you get suspended and you get sent home. Now you're really in trouble at home, right? If it happens on your job, somebody snaps at you and you snap back. If it's the boss, you fired. If it's a coworker that's best friends with the boss, you fired. So if you can't learn how to regulate and self-manage and deal with your emotions and your responses, you are in for a whole lot of trouble. I'm telling you that as a witness. Okay. There was a time when I was in middle school and there was a girl, I thought she was my friend. And everybody was in gym. The gym teacher wasn't having us do nothing, but we were in the gym just hanging out. And she was like, we should start asking people who's better. And I was like, okay, but why? She was like, let's just do it. So we went, it was different groups of people sitting around the gym. So we went to one group, who dressed better between me and her. And I already knew I didn't dress very good because my parents didn't buy me no fancy clothes. I didn't have name brand clothes at all, period, coming up. Okay. If I got a pair of Reeboks, if I got a pair of Air Force Ones, I was on cloud 10. All right. I wasn't poor. We weren't broke, but I just They just didn't have the money to buy me that type of stuff. So I just had the basic stuff you grab and it's on sale and it's a good deal. That's what I had. So she didn't have that. She had more name brand stuff. So of course, when we were going around, she said, who dressed better between Allyson and me? They were like, oh, you do. I was like, okay, I already knew that. Like, this is not something that I didn't already know. I already knew that. Okay. So then we were like, then she was like, okay, let's ask who sings better. Now, at this time, I wasn't singing. Like, I got a bachelor's degree in music now, but back then I wasn't singing like that except in a church choir. So I sang a little something. Then she sang and she was doing more. She was in the choir in school at the time. So they were like, okay, she sing better. I was like, okay, not a problem. Then she got offended because I wasn't upset. Like, I wasn't upset that people said she dressed better. I wasn't upset that people said that she sang better. I wasn't mad. I was impressed because I knew it to be true. Like, I wasn't mad about it. I just knew it to be true. Then she got upset because I wasn't upset. Right? So then she said, well, then, no. Then she said, well, who's prettier? And they said me. So she got mad. She was big mad. She was mad at this point. So she was like, all right, then we need to see who fight better. But wait, pause. Everybody just said you dress better, you sing better. They just said you didn't look better. But that's where it hurt you. That's where it hit you for real, because that's where you weren't as confident. So as soon as they said that I look better, she was like, let's find out who fight better then. I was like, I'm not about to fight you. I am not about to fight you. So she got mad and she stormed off because I didn't want to fight her. But if I didn't have a self-regulate in that moment, I would have been in a whole lot of trouble. I'd have been like, fine then, put them up, squad up, ain't no problem, let's fight. No, I'm not about to fight you. This is silly. I didn't want to do this no way. But you big bad, so now you want to fight me. I'm not about to fight you. But I had to learn to self-regulate. I had to learn that. And as time has gone on, I haven't done the best of keeping up with that, because my responses have sometimes been, I'm going to fight somebody else. My response is sometimes, not fight, but my response has been, I'm going to get into it with somebody else. If I hear somebody talk about me, I talked about them. I was a terrible friend as well. So when I teach y'all about how not to be a terrible friend, I'm telling y'all to be the opposite of how I was. But I had to learn to self-regulate. So even in your home, because this is the thing, and this is the truth that maybe some of you don't want to hear, okay? Even though your home situations are terrible right now, until you are 18 or you can move in with a family member, you are there until you go to college. You're there until you go to college. So at some point, it cannot be I cry all the way till I'm 18 because my parents aren't changing. At some point, if you recognize that their behavior isn't going to change because maybe they've been that way for a while, if that is the case, then what do we do next? We put a plan in place to now deal. Okay. I'm not going to sit and be miserable because you're not the parent I wanted. I'm going to say to myself, okay, you're not the parent that I want you to be. How can I love you as the parent you are? Woo! I have something good like that almost every episode. I love it. How can I love you as the parent you are? How can I figure out and put things in place to help our relationship grow as the parent you are and as the child I am? Because if I don't put something in place, you're going to end up like me, where I'm mad at my mom every single day and I'm upset with her because she's not the mother that I feel I want. Because of what I saw on TV. Because of what I see my friend has. But my mom, I didn't realize, didn't have the capacity to be that mother. She wasn't raised that way. She was not close with her mom. She was not close with her dad. So she didn't know how to build that type of relationship. She was trying. But instead of me stopping and saying, hey, she's trying, let me try to figure something out so we can work it out where we're a lot closer and she can help me as a parent, I sat around and was miserable because she wasn't the parent I wanted her to be. So our relationship couldn't grow. So how can you at this stage, no matter what age you are, you're not going to leave that house till you're 18 unless you move out in with the family member that takes you in. But even then, your parents are still in your life. You still have to figure out a way to love them exactly where they are. So how can I work things out? Okay. Well, my parent, for me, my mom was overprotective. Okay. So I had to figure out ways to ensure that I could still do some fun things, even though she was overprotective. So if I knew, like for my first date, it was when I was 16. Mom said I couldn't go on my first date until I was 16. Fine. So the guy I wanted to go on a date with, I introduced her to a few times before that. Okay. So I wanted her to meet like his parents. Like we were in a summer program together. So I made sure she met his people. So that way she would know his people. If I wanted to go to a friend's house, I got my friend's number and I called them and said, hey, put your mom on the phone, and put my mom on the phone so that they would talk, so my mom would be comfortable. So there were things I had to put in place once I understood who my mom was. So now that take a minute, take the next week or so, figure out who your parent is. How do they operate? Okay. If they are more like, think about, when are they more willing to let you go do something you want to do? Is it after you've done your chores? Okay. So if my mom lets me do things I want to do after I do my chores, then if I know that a dance is coming up, if I know that I want to go to my friend's house in 2 days, I'm going to start doing chores and maybe a few extra chores over the next 2 days. So when I ask her, she's already in a good mood. I got to figure out how to work it. And I don't want to call it the system, but it is a system because that's what's flowing in the house. So what system can I put in place that benefits me as well as benefits them? Because if I'm doing extra chores, the house is more clean. My mom is more happy. My dad is more happy. So when I say, can I go here? They're more likely to say yes. You see how it works? If I know that my mom hates it when I leave my shoes next to the door and my socks are not in my shoes, or my shoes are just laying on their sides, and I know that's a setup because when she comes home from work, she don't want to see that, and then she ends up yelling at me all day, then what do I need to do? She's not going to stop yelling about the shoes. She's not going to stop yelling about them. So because my mom is not going to stop yelling about the shoes, let me make the extra effort and fix the shoes. So when she comes home, we're not yelling. She's not yelling as soon as she gets in the door. So that way she's not yelling, because if I got an F on this test, I need her to be in a good mood when I tell her I got an F on this test. You got to figure out how the system works. You got to make the system work for you. And you have to figure out, how can you love your parent where they are? If they're not one that comes along and wants to support you in certain areas, maybe ask. If they don't just willingly support, ask them to support. So if you have a basketball game, you say, hey, ma, I got a basketball game Saturday. She's like, okay. Or if your dad, you say it to your dad, he's like, okay. And you know they don't come, I'm not going to keep being sad about them not coming. I'm going to ask them to come. I'm going to ask them to show up. Because maybe in their mind, maybe when they were doing something in school, their parents didn't show up and they feel like they turned out okay, even though they didn't. So maybe that was normal to them. So maybe doing the extracurricular activity, they feel like they don't have to support you because that's how they were raised. But you don't feel that way. You want your parent to come. So instead of just being upset and being sad that your parents aren't at your game, ask them to come. Tell them that you want that support. And then see what happens. Tell them what them being at your game means to you. If you start your period and you want some more support, tell your parents, tell your mom, hey, mom, I would really like for you to talk with me and walk me through some of the, like this period, because I don't really understand a period. And she'll try her best to do it, because maybe her mother didn't do it for her. So she doesn't know how to do it for you. That's how I was with my mom, you know? So we got to give our parents grace, but we also have to learn to operate and love them for who they are. Stop being mad at your mom and your dad for not being the parent you want them to be. Stop. Love them for who they are, because the longer you're upset, the more time you waste. And I bet money, if they passed away today, you will be crying, sad, upset. You would think about all the fights that you had and you would realize they were stupid and meaningless. Now, I'm not saying it invalidates how you feel, but I'm saying the length of time that you were upset, could have been time spent trying to fix it and mend it and grow closer together. You only get one mom. You only get one dad. So are you going to continue to sit and be mad at them for who they are not? Or are you going to love them for who they are? So many times I feel like we focus, even in relationships, I feel like we focus so much on, I love him, I love her in spite of who she is. And it's always this focus on, I love you for who you are not. But what if it became, I love you for who you are? And we start looking and focusing on the things that we do love about them instead of trying to focus so hard on loving them for who they're not. How different would our relationships be if we didn't always think about the things that somebody was not, but we focused on what they actually were and who they actually are? I feel like we will grow closer. We will give people the freedom to be themselves instead of beating them over the head because of who they are not. And that's not just parents, that's friendships, that's relationships too. You know? So that is my I told y'all I would go on and on about this question. I already knew. Anytime it's parents, like I be going. Okay. Because I know how it feels. You know, I love my mother, but I know that I wasted a lot of time being angry because of who she was not, instead of loving and appreciating her for who she was. It's the truth. And it happens. But it doesn't have to be your story. Your story does not have to be my story. All right. A few announcements. So thank y'all for coming. Thank you for joining. While we're in this moment, I'm going to pray first and then I'm going to do the announcements, okay? So, Father God, in Jesus' name, I thank you so much for every young girl that's here, every young girl that will watch the replay. I thank you for all my little sisters. I thank you for their joy. I thank you for their passions. I thank you for who you created them to be. I thank you for the way they look. I thank you for their unique beauty. I thank you for their unique gifts and their unique talents that you've given every single one of them for such a time as this. God, you put an answer on the inside of them to help change the world. And I decree and declare that it will come out in Jesus' name. They will no longer be afraid of who they are. They will no longer reject who they are because of what somebody said, because of who somebody, because of who somebody is in their life. They will unapologetically be themselves because that's who you call them to be, God. And I just pray that every negative word that's been spoken over them, every word that told them they were nothing, every word that told them they were ugly, every word that told them that they would never amount to anything, I cancel those words right now in the name of Jesus. And I decree and declare they are something. They are a light up. They are a light on a hill, a city that cannot be hidden in Jesus' name. And that you have created them for such a time as this. And the fact that there is only one of them from the beginning of time and for all eternity says so much about the importance of who they are. And so I decree and declare that they will be everything that you have called them to be. I speak sweet sleep over them in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank y'all so much for joining. A couple of announcements first before you go. If you have any questions, I saw some people having questions, but it started scrolling fast and I was trying to talk. If you have any questions, you can either DM me. I had the Q&A also open on my TikTok, which is pretty cool. I've been responding to some of those with videos, or you can write in. So link is in my bio. If you want me to answer one of your questions live, there is a Google form that you can fill out and you can do it anonymously. I don't have to say your name. Or you could actually write me a letter. You could send me a letter. There's an address on the Google form. I would love to get a letter in the mail. It's okay if I don't, but I would love to get a letter in the mail from you with your questions. So you can write me letters, and I do them every week. So I would love to hear from you. That's first. Okay. Second, this is Women's History Month. So happy Women's History Month. But instead of me just focusing on the women that came before us and opened the doors before us, I'm also celebrating you. I'm celebrating the great things that you are doing now, because I don't want you to think that you can't be great at the age you are now. I don't want you to think that you don't have anything to celebrate just because you're not famous, just because everybody's not tweeting about you, just because, you don't have a blue check mark. I don't want you to think you're not great because you don't have those things. You are. You're doing amazing things, especially in the midst of a pandemic. So if you have joined a new sports team, if you joined a chess club, if you started playing a new instrument, if you write songs, write music, if you're an artist, if you write books, whatever it is, whatever great, amazing thing that you've been doing, I want to celebrate you. And so there's a link in my bio, of course. I have a ton of links in my bio at this point. But there's a link in my bio for you to click, put your name, put your screen names, and your Instagram or TikTok name. And what I do is I take that, you'll send me a picture on Instagram if you can, or through my email, depending on, if you have access to Instagram. If not, you can email it to me. And I'm going to share you on my social media platforms. I'm going to share you on TikTok. I'm going to shout you out on Instagram and just celebrate the amazing girl that you are right now. I'm not going to wait till you're grown up to celebrate you. I'm not going to wait till you have a viral video before I celebrate you. I'm not going to wait till you have a blue check mark. I'm going to celebrate you right now. So I want you to go click the link in my bio after this video is over. And once you do that, tell me something amazing you've done. Send me a DM with the picture or a video, or tag me in a video on TikTok or Instagram. Let me know the amazing thing you're doing so I can share it on my social media platform. And I cannot wait to do that. I've done it with one girl already. So I'm going back to my Google form tonight so I can pull out a few more so I can start celebrating y'all, because y'all are worthy to be celebrated. No matter how small you think it is, there are some people that would never do some of the things that you're doing. That's one thing I had to realize. So I want to celebrate you. So send me a message in my inbox. Let me know the amazing things that you're doing so I can celebrate you. And yeah, that's it. Check out my books if you want a copy of them. We also have Hey Girl, it's Hey Girl merch or Hey Lil Sis merch. So link is in my bio. I got so many links in my bio. Go check it out. Go check it out. Go check it out. All right. I love y'all. And I will catch y'all later.